Chapter 4, Partnership. Two or more people pooling their money, skills, and resources to run a business, agreeing to share the profits and losses of that business. Jesse had been waiting for this moment, the moment when Evan would see their lemonade stand, see the wonderful decorations they had made, see the crowd of people waiting in line, see Megan Moriarty standing by her side. He would see it all and be so impressed. He would think to himself, wow, Jesse's one cool kid. She sure knows how to run a lemonade stand, right? And then he'd jog over and say, hey, can I help out? And Jesse would say, sure. We were hoping you'd come over, and it would be like old times. Why hadn't it worked out like that? With one part of her brain, Jessie continued to take money from customers and make change. That was the part of her brain that worked just fine. With the other part of her brain, Jessie went over what had happened with Evan. That was the part of her brain that tended to run in circles. She and Megan were selling lemonade. Business had been good. Then Mrs. Polly, a neighborhood mom, walked up. She had a bunch of kids in her backyard running through the sprinkler, and now they wanted 12 cups of lemonade. 12. It was the biggest sale of the day. Megan got cracking, pouring the lemonade, and Jessie took the 6 singles from that Mrs. Polly handed her. All the kids from Mrs. Polly's backyards were chanting, lemonade, lemonade, lemonade. Fly buzzed by Jessie's ear. They'd been having a problem with flies because of the sticky lemonade spills on the stand, and she cocked her head to one side to shoo it since her hands are busy with the money, and that's when Jessie looked up and saw Evan standing there staring. So she smiled, but he didn't smile back. So she waved, even though she had all that money in both hands. She waved that he know that she was happy to see him, and then he stalked off, all stiff-legged and bristly, and she never got to say, sure. We were hoping you'd come over, like she'd rehearsed in her head. And just then, Tommy Polly, who was 2 years older, pulled down his bathing suit and peed right on the lawn. And Megan laughed so loud, Jessie was sure you could hear it all over the neighborhood. That's what had happened. That's exactly what had happened. But Jessie knew that something else entirely had happened, and she didn't get it. The way she didn't get a lot of things about people. All she knew was the sight of Evan walking away from her the second time that day, made her feel so sad and alone that she just wanted to run home to her room and curl up on her bed with Charlotte's Web. Hey, Madam Cash Register, said Megan, nudging her. You're falling behind. Bring 3 for this lady and 1 for this kid here. Jessie turned away from the retreating figure of Evan. That's $1.50, she said to the woman standing in front of her. She took the $5 bill the woman was holding out and made change from her lockbox, focusing all her energy on the part of her brain that worked just fine. It's true that when Evan had first walked out of the garage, Jessie had banged on up to her room and tried to think of every way possible that she could make her life a living misery. She thought of telling Mom and Evan was the one who broke the toaster by playing hockey in the house, which is not allowed. She thought of taking back every single one of her CDs from his room, even though she knew that she would mean she'd have to give back all of his CDs. She'd even thought of putting peanut butter in his shoes. That was something she read in a book. And she'd love to imagine the moment of horror when he thinks he'd somehow gotten dog doo-doo inside his shoes. But when these ideas had finished bouncing around her brain, and when her breathing had turned to normal and her fists weren't clenched at her sides anymore, she knew that what she really wanted was to get the old Evan back, the one who had so much fun to be around, the one who helped her out of every jam. Like when she ate all the Lorna Doones that Mom had set aside for the Girl Scout meeting, and Evan had ridden his bike to the 7-Eleven and bought a new pack before Mom even noticed. Or when she not accidentally, but how was she supposed to know, picked the red flowers in Grandma's garden that were hybrid experiments. Evan had said they'd both done it, so that Grandma's disappointment was spread around. Or the time that Jessie had smashed the ceramic heart that Daddy had given her because she was so mad that he had left them. And then when she had cried about her broken heart. Evan had glued every single last piece back together again. She wanted back the Evan who was her best friend. But Evan didn't want her, because he thought she was a baby and she was going to embarrass him in Mrs. Overton's class. So she had to prove to him that she was a big kid, that she could keep up with the crowd, that she could fit in even with his 4th grade class. I'll show him I'll sell lemonade too, just as good as him and Scott. I won't embarrass him. So Jessie got down to business. She knew she needed a partner. From past experience, she'd learned that having a lemonade stand alone wasn't considered cool. It was considered pathetic. And a partner would have to be a fourth grade girl, because that's what this was all about, showing that she could fit in with fourth graders. So the question was who? It had to be a girl who lived in the neighborhood, or at least close enough to bike to her house. And it had to be someone that Jessie had talked to at least once. No way could she call up a girl she'd never even talked to. And it had to be someone who seemed nice. That last part was a problem because Jessie knew that she often thought people were nice and then they'd turn out to be not nice. Case in point, those second grade girls. So Jessie decided it had to be someone who Evan thought was nice. Evan knew about these things. He was the one who had explained with his big arm around her shoulder, "Jessie, those girls are making fun of you. They are not nice." When Jessie thought about all the different requirements, there were only one obvious answer: Megan Moriarty. She lived less than 3 blocks down the street. Jessie had said hi to her a few times while biking in the neighborhood. And Evan must have thought she was nice because Jessie had found a piece of paper in the trash can with Megan's name written all over it. Why would he cover up a page with her name if he didn't think she was a nice person? Jessie went to the kitchen and climbed onto a stool so she could reach the cabinet over the